Well, here we are in the middle of October and it feels like the summer, but paradoxically I've gone down with my first cold of the winter, and you can probably hear there's something wrong with my voice. I'm full of cold. Now I've done my lateral flow test and I haven't got the COVID apparently, which is a good thing, but boy, I'm full of cold, shall we say, and my voice, good job I got the Sunday sermon recorded yesterday and put it out, otherwise it would have been really hilarious for people listening to all this morning. Now this particular voice I've got this morning is causing a particular problem for me, because my first job of the morning is always to take these fellas out and give them their run. And we have a disciplined approach to getting them out the kennel, because then they know they're under control and they got to behave and do as they're told. And what I do is I open all the kennels up and they got to stay in their box, their little nesty bit at the back. They've all got individual ones and they got to stay in their nesty bit at the back until I tell them they can come out, and then I call them all out together. And this morning I had to remind them, and there's a very good reason for that. Now these dogs, they know me really well, but when I turned up this morning I looked like the right thing. Perhaps I smelled like the right thing. We know dogs are very scent oriented, but I didn't sound like the right thing, and they were suspicious and they didn't know if they were going to do what I told them or not. Now, I'm sure you can imagine these dogs are lively and active, and they work, they bring me sheep, but I've got to listen, because otherwise they could get in their head to go back a bit, regress in time to the days when they were a bit nearer the wolf than the useful working dog. The days when they didn't really, hadn't got the skills to listen and do as they were asked to do. And back in the wolf days, of course, they weren't healthy for sheep, because they were chasing sheep to kill and eat, and we don't want that. These dogs are good like that, but still, they've got to listen to the voice, because if you let them loose in a big open environment like this, and you haven't got control, boy, their selfish little self could run into trouble pretty quick. Now, this is more important than you might initially think, okay? So let me just read you what Jesus has got to say about it. He's talking about the sheep and the shepherd, and he's talking about the shepherd being him, he's the great shepherd of the sheep, and he's talking about his followers, his people being his sheep. So what he says, the shepherd, when he's brought out all his own, he goes on ahead of them, and his sheep follow him because they know his voice. So far, so good. But they will never follow a stranger, just like my dogs this morning. In fact, they will run away from him because they do not recognize his voice. See, it's not a matter of how he looks, it's his voice. It's not a matter of how he communicates, it's the actual voice. You can see I've taken my jumper off, my outer coat, my warm coat that I had on earlier, because it started getting warmer here. But that doesn't either vouch for the authenticity of what I'm saying, its truthfulness, neither does it speak against it. It's what's being said, it's the voice, and that's important. That is so important. I was just picking up on this morning myself in a little YouTube video that came from a house church network, actually. Doesn't matter if they're house church or pointy church, you know, stones or whatever, doesn't matter. It's the truthfulness. And there was a great video coming out of Relational Mission, one of their 3 men on the leadership team there, and he was speaking this morning about, well, they say it's a translation of the Bible, but it's not really, called The Message. And he was speaking about that and the ring of authenticity and the importance of that and so on. And you know, there was truth. He's not one of our connection, he's not part of our churches, but there was truth about it, and you could see that, as it were, the ring of God's voice was coming through in what he was saying how important it is not to follow a voice because it sounds nice, but to follow it because you recognize it. And that's a key thing. Now, when I was walking these dogs earlier, and this is something to recognize and realize about what we're saying here, when I was walking these earlier, I had to put them back in because I had to go down to the house because something was needed. I had to go and sort something out for somebody, a key, in fact, which I'd put in my pocket and should have put in the box. But I went out of the house and I came back. When I came back again to the dogs, I'd put them away in the kennel for a short while I went on down to the house. And when I came back, you know, they didn't have so much of a problem with my voice at all because they'd been listening to a Dodgy Voice for a while. and it didn't put him off so much at all, nothing like at all as much. And that's the trouble when you get in the habit of listening to voices that are not the shepherd's voice. When you start listening to the inauthentic representation of what God is about and what he says, no matter what it looks like, what's being said, when you get used to the dodgy voice, well, that's fine. You're not on your guard, you're not aware, you're not alert to the fact it could be leading you astray. The word for the week this week is just saying, really, watch out for dodgy voices. Watch what you hear, watch what you listen to, because it forms you, it does change you. You might get well used to and well acquainted with and start listening to voices that are not going to do you much good, that are going to hurt you. And it's just a word from the Lord, really, in John chapter 10, saying that the sheep, the wise old sheep who walk in his ways and follow after the shepherd, they run from another voice. They won't credit it for a minute. And they won't do that because it won't actually lead you in the Lord's way, and it won't actually be good for your soul. Here's my word for the week. Sorry about my voice this week. Just a reminder, make sure it's the Lord's voice you're listening to, consistent with his word, consistent with his ways, consistent with what our Creator knows is good for us. Thanks for listening.